Hello my dear students. Let us continue with the furthermore characteristics of OOPS in this video. Previous video we have completed with what is OOPS programming technique and the first characteristics, what are the objects. So let us move on to the next characteristics, that is the classes. Class is nothing but it's a way of grouping the objects having the similar characteristics. I'll show you one example here. We have here three different objects, that is the van, Audi, sports car. Okay, all these are the three different objects, but they do have the common characteristics among them, like fields, the number of wheels in it, and then the price, model, okay, and then their speed limit. So it might be having certain characteristics which are common in them. So these such kinds of objects that share the common characteristics can be included in under a single unit known as the class. I hope you are understanding. Now let me explain you what with one more example here. See how you can distinguish what are the characteristics and what might be the behavior. That means characteristics means the data members, behavior means the member functions. See, any physical characteristics of a person, I can call it as the characteristics. Any unique behavior, what exactly that person can do, then I can say such kinds of things I can list under the member function. I'll give an example of a mobile phone. A mobile is an object that is having its own characteristics and a behavior. A mobile, what can be a characteristics? Color, weight, okay, cost, model. These are the common characteristics that any other mobiles also can have. These are the physical characteristics: color, weight, cost, model. But what might be the behavior? What a mobile can perform the functionality? It can perform what? Call, okay, send and receive the message, internet connection, Bluetooth. It can have an inbuilt camera. These are the functionality what a mobile can perform. So the functionality which are being performed by the particular object, then I can refer them as the behavior or the member function. Any physical characteristics like color, weight, height, model, cost and all, those I can refer it as the data members or the characteristics. At least now you are able to understand. Similar way, these three objects are having the common characteristics among them, like the number of wheels in them, okay, color, price, model, okay, they are having the same kind of characteristics to which are being enclosed in a single unit called as the class. Similar way, I have three different objects here. Look at here. So the first object, okay, it is having its characteristics like name, age, color and sex to determine which gender. Okay, these are the common characteristics that any other person can also have. So his name is John here, his age is 12, color fair, sex is male. Then what is the functionality performed by the John? They are considered to be as the member function, that he can eat more, drink more and run fast. Similarly, I have one more object known as the Sophia. She is also having here characteristics like name, age, color and sex. And then what are the functionality that performed by this Sophia are: she can eat less, drink less and run slow. Similarly, one more object I have, that is having its own characteristics, name, age, color and sex, that she is a Lily. She can eat more, drink more and she can also run fast. So they are the unique feature that are performed by these objects. But can you see that they are having the same characteristics like name, age, color and sex, and they are having the same member functions like they can eat, they can drink and they can run. Then any objects that are having the similar characteristics, then I can group under the single common unit known as the class. I hope you are understanding. That's what I have grouped all these three objects under the class known as the student. That's how the definition here. A class is a way of grouping the objects that are having the similar characteristics. Then I can call this class as a user-defined data type. What is this user-defined data type? The user-defined data types are such data types which can have the similar or the different kinds of combinations of the data types. For an example, in previous first year we have studied structure. Structure is nothing but it can have the combination of same or the different variables in it in order to fulfill the user's requirement. Then I could say that structure was an user defined data type. Here also classes are also being considered as user defined data type. Look here, we have a class known as the student, where it is having the different variables of different data types like register number of integer type, name of character. They are being included within the same unit, that is a class, to fulfill the user's requirements. Such data types are called to be as an user defined data type, and the class can hold both the data and function. You can see these, the register number, name are the data members, get data and print are the member functions. Here also you can see the name, age, color and sex, these are the data members, and eating, drinking, running, these are the member functions. Hence the class can hold both the data members as well as the member functions in them. Then once the class is being defined, any number of objects of that class can be created. This if I want to access the variable, that is the register number or the name, access in the sense I need to read and print it. If I want to read and print the register number or the name, then I need to have an object. So once the class has been created like student, okay, any number of objects I can create for this class known as the student in order to access these data members. So this point I'll explain with one of the programming example, so that you can even understand what is the functionality of get data and the print, why I have to use these two as the member functions here. Yes, now here I have defined the class as a student with the two member functions, that is two data members, register number and the name. You see what exactly the member functions are performing. They are performing certain operations, that is reading the data. Enter the register number, so you are reading register number, then enter the name, fine. Then what does print is performing the operation? It is displaying, that is the register number is. Okay, now once the class has been created, in order to access these data members we have to create the objects. So any number of objects can be created. What is meaning of this is, see, I want to access this register number, that means I need to read and print it out. Okay, then I have to create an object. So S is an object that is created for the class known as the student. When I explicitly make a function call, that is s.getData, your control jumps to the get data and then series of instructions will be executed. That's how I can weave on my command prompt, that is enter the register number, I may give 555. Then it will ask me enter the name, that is Rahul. Understood? Then once the control moves to the s.print, okay, execution starts from the main function, right? So when the control moves from s.print, the control jumps from the print function and execute these series of instruction. That's how I'm able to see the output on my command prompt. That is register number is 555 and the name is Rahul. That means how I'm able to access these data members? By creating an object. So once the class has been defined, I can create n number of objects. More than one objects I can create. Now only one I have, S as an object for the class student. I can create like student S, comma st. St will be another object which is referring to the same class, that is the student. Instead of s.getData, I can even call it as st.getData, st.print. Same functionality will be performed. That means once the class has been created, any number of objects you can create. So I hope all the points have been clear in case of the, that is class. Moving on to the next topic, that is the data abstraction. Data abstraction actually refers to the process of representing the essential features without including any kind of background details or the explanation. For an example, I'll explain this data abstraction with an example. Think of this ATM card machine. So when you go to withdraw the money, what you are thinking of, just you need to put the card and then whatever the instruction that user needs to enter his pin, okay, pin card, what amount he wants to withdraw and whether it's from the savings account, what kind of account he has to withdraw. Only the essential things on the ATM machine you will be able to, it will be given for the user to interact with. all how your request will go to the bank, how the bank is transferring the money to the to you through the ATM machine, how internally the ATM circuit is being designed. All these things are being completely hidden from the user. Such kind of property is nothing but the data abstraction. Data abstraction, it is a process for presenting the only essential things to the user by hiding the background details or the explanation. One more example I can give for the data abstraction, that is, let us consider the example of mobile phone, so which has the attributes like the Bluetooth, and it also has an inbuilt camera in it. Whenever we have to transfer or share the data from one mobile to the another mobile, okay, then we will not worry about how exactly the Bluetooth is working within your mobile phone. Neither we will see how the circuit inside your mobile phone has been designed. We are only interested in using the mobile phone and its features. So therefore it is required to know how to operate your mobile phone and how to use the features which are available within the mobile phone without knowing any background details of your mobile. This kind of characteristics is said to be as the data abstraction. So any applications or the software which are being developed through the OOPS concept, they will show only the essential features to the user, and it will hide all the background details, how it is working. That's how the data abstraction works. Moving on to the next one, that is the data encapsulation, which is one more interesting characteristics of the OOPS. So this data encapsulation, it will actually combines both the data and the functions into a single unit known as the class. Okay, data encapsulation is nothing but it is having the ability to combine both the data and the functions into a single unit known as the class. Here I can show you in this program. Here I have combined both the data members as well as the member functions into a single unit known as the class, that is the student. So this concept is nothing but the data encapsulation. Now what is why we have encapsulated in a class in a single unit? That because data encapsulation will prevent the direct access to the data. It will make sure that there should be no any direct access to the data members, that is register number and the name. Only the member functions which are there within the class can access. Only the get data and the print function are able to access the register number and the name. So this data encapsulation provides data hiding or the information hiding. The insulation of the data being accessed outside the world is nothing that is the data hiding or the information hiding. Think that outside the class, now here my class ends. One more function I'll write here, void display, which is not a member function of this class. I'll just write void display and I would try to print that register number is, name is. One more function I'll take. Then the compiler will give an error to me saying that display is not a member function of the class, that is student. That means data encapsulation will provide you one more property, that is data hiding or the information hiding, so that the data members of this data members shouldn't be accessed outside the class. Only the member functions can access them. So this was all about the data encapsulation, or the data hiding and the information hiding. Look here in this image, another example. See, this abstraction is what? Representing the only essential features to the user. So this is a mobile device, only the essential features it is displaying to the user, and it is completely hiding how the mobile circuit has been designed. This process is nothing but abstraction. And what is the process of encapsulation? This is the data, right? This is the data. And the member functions, what all actions to be performed, it is in behind. So all the data members and member functions are being encapsulated in a single unit known as the mobile. That is nothing but encapsulation. Another easy real-time examples is about the car. The abstraction is what? Only to the user on his display, like what is the speed, what is the fuel limit he's having, how much fuel is left out, okay, what are the direction, whether any door is opened or no, such the information is being displayed in on his speedometer or the engine at the driver's seat. So that is nothing but abstraction. It is providing the essential features to the user. Okay, by hiding how engine was being designed, how it is connected, it is not showing to the user. Only what are the display details should be there for the driver to know. Only those things it is providing the information. That is abstraction. What is encapsulation? Encapsulation, all the circuit and the functionality of the car which is provided, everything it has been encapsulated into a single unit known as the car. So encapsulation and the abstractions are interrelated with each other. So this was all about the abstraction and the encapsulation. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is the inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but the process of forming a new class from the existing class is known as the inheritance. Here I am forming a class B from the class A which has already been existing. This process is nothing but inheritance. The process of framing a new class. The class B is being formed newly by the existing class known as class A. This process is nothing but the inheritance. Example I can give, father and the child. The child is being derived from the father. So a new class, child class, is being formed by the usage of existing class known as the father. Then this process is known as the inheritance. The objects of one class can acquire the properties of another class through the inheritance. That means, think that class A is a father who is a singer. Think that a child class which is being derived from the father class, he's a child class. So this child class can inherit the properties of the father. So this child class can also sing, plus an additional features also you can include in this derived class, that he can also dance. Okay, so this child class can inherit the properties of the base class also, plus he can also have an additional features into him. Okay, then the existing class is known as the base class and the new class is known as the derived class. Okay, the derived class can share some of the properties of the base class. That means I said the singer, father is a singer, means even the child can able to sing. That means the child is inheriting the properties of the base class. Code from the base class can be reused by the derived class. Fine. New class may combine the features from the two different base class to. Here the new class is actually sharing the features of only one class. Instead of this, the new class can even share the features of two different base class. One more base class also can be there. Through that also it can share the properties. Think that a father class is there and a mother class, and then the child class. A to be father, B class to be as mother, and the C class to be new class to be as the child class. This child can inherit the properties both from the father as well as the mother. Okay, by using this inheritance, the major advantage is code reusability. Okay, instead of writing the code, the same code which is there in the father's class and the mother class, as you're inheriting, you need not to write. The properties are already been there in the child class. You need not to write the code once again in the child class. Okay, let me explain this with the example here. Now look here. Okay, here black color are inherited skill, the red colors are the new skill. Now think that this is a person who is having the ability to perform cooking, singing, dancing and teaching. So this is a child class which is inheriting the properties from the base class. Okay, so plus what are the properties she is inheriting? That is cook. She can also cook, sing, dance and teach, as well as she can add an extra features also, that is she is able to coding. She is able to code also. Understood? So this is base class and the newly formed class is called as the derived class or the child class. So this child class need not to write all the coding for these things. By default it will inherit the properties. Similarly, this again is a child class. This is again a child class which has been derived from the previous existing class. Look at the abilities. She can cook, sing, dance, teach, code. plus and extra additional features are also being added, that she can shoot guns and she can repair electronics also. So what exactly is happening? The process of forming a new class from the existing class is known as the inheritance. Isn't it? Here it is providing a greater advantage of code reusability. All these characteristics in her, by default it is inherited. Okay, so this was all about the inheritance. I hope you people are understanding the concepts. Watch the video carefully, solve the assignments, take care of your health. Thank you.